Welcome to the shop. This is the Shop Podcast, and it's one of my favorite things to do. The shop at the shop. Talking shop at the shop. I love it. Well, today we have Shawn Miner.
Greetings.
And it's going to be excellent. It's going to be good. We're just going to vibe.
I like it.
How you been?
I've been great.
How's life?
Been fantastic.
Doing good.
Life is a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Obviously, getting ready to have a baby in February.
You are? Oh, yeah, I saw
you
that.
Knew that. You knew that. But yeah, so we're getting ready to have a baby.
Hey, that's excellent.
But life is good.
Yeah.
You know, just moving along.
Yeah.
We're happy. Everybody's healthy, so
that's awesome.
Things are good.
Side note, how is it like you're adjusting to so many things? You're newly married, and then you're about to have a baby. It's like no one gives you a manual for that, but then you're just doing it.
No, there's literally no instruction manuals. There's nothing you can Google, or there's no AI out there that can help you with any of this. It's been like, I think for me, myself, I'm an only child, so this is probably one of the few times where I'm experiencing like such rapid changes, I think, like in a short manner of time.
Yeah.
I think I've adjusted pretty well, as one could, you know.
Yeah.
But also just with the support of like my family, her family, and our friends and stuff, like it makes those transitions not feel so daunting and huge and everything like that. So it's been really good. And I like the fact of knowing that like we're not alone in this, and that like we don't have to have everything figured out. Like if I felt like I needed to have everything figured out, we would definitely not be in this place at all. So
exactly. I was gonna say, like, how do you make yourself be okay like during that? But then you said it. You said reaching out to people, and that's awesome.
You just gotta have that communal like aspect, I think, to it. And myself, between me and my wife, like I'm super like extroverted. Like I thrive in areas where like I'm hanging out with people and stuff like that. She's introverted. She has a very she has a social meter, and whenever it gets filled up, it's time to pack things up and go,
let
you know,
it go,
stuff like that. But reaching out, you know, in community whenever we need to, you know, is always, I think, important. And so it helps just kind of make it feel like, you know, like I said, like this huge transition isn't as daunting as some would make it out to be. So
that's cool. That's cool. It's like there's so many things in life that we do all the time, and we just like normalize, like, oh, it's totally fine. But some of these things, they take work, and they take, or it's not as easy. So that fly is actually our third guest.
I love it.
Been making just a cameo here and there. Say hi to the fly. I'm going to name it. We should name him Bob the Fly. Just coming in every so often so we don't forget about Bob the Fly.
That's
but,
awesome.
I mean, with you talking about your extroverted nature, that goes hand in hand with all your skills.
Yeah.
I mean, you are on the band, and there's so many things that you do. I can't even list them all.
Yeah.
But you do quite a bit. And then you work with our young adults. You work with the middle group. You work with creativity.
Literally.
What is your absolute favorite thing to do, like creatively?
Oh man, my absolute favorite thing. I think it's honestly the process. Like it's the process. So like the mode and the flow that I get into of like when I'm creating like any idea. So like it can be a graphic that I'm doing for Known, or it can be, you know, working on this weekend set, you know, or something for the middle, whatever it is. Like, I think I enjoy just the process of like building that up or creating it, and like, you know, taking this idea from something else that I had, or using, you know, whatever, or something completely original, you know, or even sometimes it's just like, you know, I'll get to where I've made something and I look at it for a second and I'm like, okay, trash, and then it'll start all over.
Restart.
Like let's start all over again and stuff like that. But I think the process is probably my favorite aspect of it. Yeah.
So then, speaking to creatives, because I did a little bit in that. Yeah. So the process is nice, but how do you keep it fresh? Because there are times where sometimes it just feels like you're a glorified billboard maker. Yeah. Like I'm just making posters, I'm just making flyers. How do you keep those ideas in it?
So I think, for me personally, number one is you got to have like a good playlist going while you're working. So, you know, I've got to have my music on while I'm going with it. But I think too, just knowing that what I'm thinking of in my head, trying to get out every single concept, idea, and sometimes it can look like creating, like, the most outlandish design possible.
Yeah.
And then working, my way backwards, scaling that down a bit to where it's like, okay, now this looks a little bit more like in line with our brand and a little bit more in line of like what we want to use and stuff like that. So like, for instance, like in like our, the most recent logo I did was like I did for a design for the Hangout, which is our high school ministry and stuff.
Nice.
And, our pastors, Jason and Leanna, they had this wonderful idea of, making it look super 70s and stuff like that. So I collaborated with Josh, and we sent designs back and forth. And honestly, I asked Josh, I was like, I don't know how 70s and groovy they want to get, but this is what I have. So we can get 70s, and we can go. I was like, we can go that far if that's what they want. And that was actually kind of what they wanted a little bit. So we went that route and landed on that design and stuff like that. So I think just keeping it fresh, you always have to just just be open, be willing to do the craziest thing first and work backwards. But then also be willing to, push the limit of like, keep going, like don't stop at your first design. Like your first design isn't going to be the one. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can be, but also like don't limit yourself to just that one of just like, okay, like I did this cool thing, like this logo looks cool or these colors match and stuff like that. Like don't just stop there. Like push it a little bit further and see what else you can get out of it, and then share it. Obviously get people's feedback, and that's what you'll know where you need to go next. So
exactly. So then in getting people's feedback, talk about, have you ever had a time, and I know this has happened, a time where you make this design and you're like, this is it. This is the one. It's going to do real well and nobody likes it. Like talk about disappointment in being a creative, because that's your heart and soul,
I think that as creatives, as people who create things, whether it be writing, you're writing a song, or you have this really cool idea that you think, could absolutely work. I think you always have to be willing to remain on the side of like, okay, what's cool for me may not be cool for Bless. So like, I need to understand like, okay, what does Bless want out of this logo that she, out of her ministry, whatever she's thinking of, what can I do to basically collab with you to make sure that we're communicating what also is the heart behind your ministry or whatever, you know what I mean? So, for me, I have to not so much I have to try my best to not put so much of my personal like ideas and like creativity into someone else's like logo or something like that, because it's like, it's kind of the same way I think how we approach like just like worship songs and stuff like that. Like there are some songs that are going to be absolute like bangers for people that like I might find absolutely annoying. like I never want to play this song again. But like it just lends itself to just a different audience. And so it's the same way with like design and creating things. It's like I have to make sure that like personally I'm not putting in like what I feel like, okay, I need to not be totally married to this design or this font, these colors. Like the client might want something different, and I need to not get sad whenever the person comes back to me and is like, damn, this is really cool, but
I don't like it. Start all over.
Like, and so it's just things like that you just kind of have to remain really fluid with. I think as creatives, because we are so like. When you create things, you want to, protect it. You know what I mean? So
I mean, it's like your baby. You're like, I spent X amount of time on this, and it kind of hurts when somebody says, "Oh, I like it, but I don't." Or when they're like, "Actually, this is trash." You're like,
start all over. You're like, okay,
that's a strong word. But okay, cool. So I mean, you were talking about all the areas that you serve in the church and all the things that you do, all the hats you wear. Let's talk a bit about like resting. And do you ever feel guilty if you need rest, or what's your relationship with rest? Do you get rest?
Rest and I don't know if we're friends on Facebook or MySpace anymore.
You unfriended them?
I don't know what happened. I think that, for me, it's because I'm an only child, I keep referring to that, but I think it's just like I've been so accustomed to just doing things like on my own, just like by myself, so I can get into these work modes where it's just like the train's not stopping. Like I'm just going and going and going. Like, you know, it's Tuesday night, it's Wednesday night, Thursday night rehearsal, twice on Sunday mornings. Yeah. All right, let's do it all over again. Yeah. You know, I can, you know, get into this kind of, you know, spin cycle, if you would say, of things like that. But I have, you know, I think I've done in becoming a husband and soon to be a father, I think that I've started to become more aware of the need to make sure that, okay, I need to make sure I have enough energy for her. I need to have enough energy for my for my kid whenever they get here. Like, I need to make sure that the tank that I am constantly filling and refilling, and not feeling like I have nothing to give in any area. Because like I know that sometimes, like if I'm feeling low, then that means like creatively I'm feeling low. Like there's nothing really. Nothing seems to gel, you know, nothing seems to mix and stuff like that. And that's something that like, that's when I always need to know. It's like, okay, I need to pause, you know, turn off the computer for a second, right? You know, let's get up, walk around and just, you know, have some peace for a second. And so, yeah, like, I think for me, I've always approached rest as like, something that you just kind of, for myself, I just recognize that I ease my way kind of into it. Like it's just, okay, there it is. Like we're resting now. Cool. Awesome. Now let's go back, you know, and stuff like that. So
I think that's the thing with creatives too. We'll have either we're nocturnal and we just all the time, all day, every day at night, which is fine if you're just you doing your stuff. And then when you're married, you have family, you have responsibilities, that doesn't quite work out. And then a lot of times too, we'll feel so guilty. Like I need rest, but if I'm resting, my mind is going about, like, especially all the ideas you may be having, all this song, this video, everything's constantly going, and maybe being very intentional about telling yourself, you know, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, and it also makes you kind of feel like, you know, oh, I don't want to feel guilty for asking for the rest. You know, it's like, you know, I really want to finish this, you know, idea that I've been working on for the last 3 or 4 days, but I really need to take a break and like focus my attention somewhere else. And you don't ever want to feel like, you know, guilty for having to ask for that rest, you know. And I think that creative people, we tend to go through those kind of those waves, I think, sometimes of like, I feel really great about having rest, or I feel really bad about having to ask for rest and stuff. So
exactly. So last question: what is something that you want to see more of in the church, creatively wise? And if you're still thinking, I'll add on.
I got it.
You got it. Let's go. I like it.
I mean, this one's probably been like swirling around in my head for a while, but like, I want to see like actual good Christian movies made.
Look, don't even start.
Like.
Yes.
No more Fireproof. No more Courageous.
Hey, look, bless them. We like it. But no, I was telling this to a friend the other day that I want to support Christian content. And I, like, in my heart, because you feel like you're saying no to Jesus when you don't. So I'm like, I want to, but sometimes the low budget films make it hard. For me, that's why I really love The Chosen, though. Yeah. I don't know if you watched it.
The Chosen's great. Yeah, The Chosen is great.
But keep going.
But
I felt that.
Like, I feel like The Chosen is the standard that I think every other content should strive to be and reach. Because I feel like there's great stories to tell. Yeah. And I think within the church, I would also like to see, you know, just get bold with your creativity. Like if you have, you know, someone, a team, you know, who's just kind of doing this for fun. Maybe they've made a couple of like, you know, little church videos or stuff like that. Man, like keep giving them more. Like encourage them, give them more. Like let them, you know, design the new look of your whatever it is, your handout, your brochure, whatever, and just give them more. Because like I think that, you know, as people come into, you know, our church buildings and they walk around and stuff like that, like there are things that I think that people can visually like. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Like, this is you know, this graphic was so convenient that, like, I knew where to take my kid. Or, like, I knew when this event was happening. And so just like give your creative people more to just kind of like to do, you know, in a sense. And just like I think that creativity has been something that just in the last couple of years has slowly started to rise to the occasion. You know, like beforehand, like we were talking about COVID and stuff like that. Like, you know, 2020 really pushed I think churches to think more creative minded. And so I think that I would like to see churches start to see creativity as a ministry, like it being a tool. Being a solid tool for ministry of like, okay, you can, as much as I can reach God through my small group and, you know, give the gospel in my student ministry or on a Sunday morning.
Sundays.
We can also do that through video, through our podcast, through the music we release, all those different things. Like start seeing them as ministries and not just like as
things. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times, like you hit it right on the head, because before COVID, there was this great division, like, oh, that's what the world does, and then we do this. But God is not limited to these. These are channels, you know? Yeah. One thing that somebody said one time was that the disciples wished they had this. They wish they had podcasts. They wish they had telephones and the internet and ways to take the gospel all over the world. So the fact that we have it, I think COVID did push us to share it more. And then, like you said, giving the people that God has given us, like you, who are very creative, out, like ways to, you know, push that out is going to be so good.
It's good.
So next movie, we gonna do it?
If I get to write it,
at this point, we gotta see it happen.
I'm reaching for the Oscars, so that's what I'm going for.
I would love to see it, but it's good to have you. This is a good chat. I really enjoyed it.